All right. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another one of our interviews here on Google Hangout. And this, we are excited to say, is the first time that we have talked to Zack Kaplan of Eclipse. Welcome over here.
Hey, thank you. Hi.
Right now, what we're really going to talk about is Eclipse. And we're going to get into that because that's your new book. There's only 2 issues out. The third one comes out next week, I believe, through
That's
Top
right.
Cow Image. I first heard about it from Dylan Gray, who is a really great marketing guy for Top Cow. He hits all the cons. A lot of you had probably met him at the conventions. He's always pushing the books. He's always really doing a great job of getting us interested. In fact, it was him that had me take a closer look at Eclipse and then try the first issue and really love it. So why don't you tell the audience what Eclipse is about?
Eclipse is a world where the sun will burn you alive if you go outside. So there's been some sort of mysterious solar flare cataclysm. We aren't sure, but now the sun is deadly, so society's flipped. People sleep during the day and work at night. And then there's a killer going around, and he's killing people using sunlight, and it's up to our hero to stop him, basically.
Okay, and that was what was interesting about the first one was I was sold because on the scientific or the science fiction premise. Yeah. I like the idea that the people, it opens up with them going out during the day. They're having to get herded underground before the sun comes up. I'm sorry, during the night, get herded underground before the sun comes up. But by the time we got to the end, it had, I don't know, it felt like it was going to start as a post-apocalyptic sort of a thing. And now we've got like a police detective story set in this world.
Yeah, It's an interesting blend in terms of like genres and stuff, and people are always like, what is Eclipse like? And I don't know, I can never figure out how to reference something because it's like a little, this post-apocalyptic flair because there's been this event that wiped out most of the population, but society's survived, so it's not all just gangs in the wasteland. There's actually a functioning society, and then there's this detective murder mystery kind of thing going on. So there's a lot of different kind of genre tropes to the whole thing, for sure.
Yeah. And you seem to be mixing them very well. I like the corporate structure that has grown up with this new environment. What were they called? Solar harvesters?
Yeah, the main company is called Solarity, and they seem to have taken. There's several companies that seem to have taken control of New York City, and Solarity is one of them, and they provide solar power. So the irony here is that while the sun has turned into a deadly force, it seems that whatever's going on, the sun is also providing energy for the entire society without fail. So thus, this company is kind of in a good position to hold on to power in the city. So yeah, and of course you'll probably, when you read it, even just the first 2 issues, pick up on some nefarious underpinnings of this company, and there's something more going on here. So yeah.
Okay, well, you've got a lot to work with. Have you actually like planned out everything? Do you know what the rest of the world looks like? Because we're just focusing on one particular city at the moment.
No. I know I have ideas about what could be going on in a couple other cities, but for a large part, I just know what happened to the world, and I know what's gone on in New York City and in the area around New York City. I know what's happened in DC because there's a relationship between New York City and DC, but that's where most of the beginning story takes place, and it's not to say that I wouldn't take it somewhere else down the road, but there's enough world and enough depth to explore here. And one thing I really like to do is create backstory that then informs the plot. So there's a lot of backstory that will be coming out. So yeah, I mean, in terms of what has happened in San Francisco or LA or Denver or Tokyo, we don't know. And I guess there's a lot of possibility for that. So yeah.
All right, that gives you tons of room to play with it. And it's an ongoing series.
That's
so
right.
This is something that we should be seeing monthly coming out through Top Cow and Image. Now, how did you find Giovanni, the the artist on this?
Yeah, I mean, once Top Cow gave me the green light for the project, they had like a few portfolios for different artists. So I looked at all of them, and Giovanni immediately stood out. He had done The Shadow and Justice Inc. and several other titles, but those two titles, he was really playing with light and dark. I mean, like something like The Shadow, which has got this kind of film noir component, and it's ironic because he ended up adapting his style for Eclipse, but as I looked at his portfolio, that was something that excited me a lot, that he was playing with light and dark, and he really understood that. His detail work was really cool. And so I said, this is the guy I want. And ironically, he wasn't available for 5 months or so. He was finishing up, I think, The Shadow. And I chose to wait for him, which was one of the best decisions I made for the book. I just felt like he was the right guy. And so they said, you could go with another artist. And I said, no, I want this guy. And so we waited, and then he became available. But it's interesting because he's talked about how he changed his style. I guess for a lot of his previous projects, his brush strokes were very thick, and he wanted Eclipse to have this really arid feel. And so he wanted very thin lines. And so he needed to figure out how to do that. And also there's all this detail work because I just decided not to go easy on the artist and say, well, there's the Times Square scene and there's hundreds of people. So he studied Mobius and Darrow and artists like that. So for all you art fans out there, you can take a look at the Eclipse art and see if you see the parallels between those artists and Giovanni's work. I also think coming from, this is my first comic book, so I kind of came into it with no idea of what might be too much for an artist. So I just didn't think about that. And Giovanni never wrote me back and said, hey, this scene is too ambitious, or this is too ambitious, or that's too ambitious. He just tackled it, and God bless him for that. I mean, he poured his heart and soul into the world creation, and we had a lot of conversations about it. And so, in fact, if anything, that's kind of become a trope that we're now looking to capture again and again. I mean, we're working on now issues 5 through 8, and we're looking for opportunities to create complex scenes where you see the world in great detail, just like that crowd scene in 1. So yeah, Giovanni is just a star. He's been invaluable. He's been great.
That is great. I mean, because just opening up the book to the very first page, first couple, and actually even beyond that, there's landscape scenes, just with all the skyscrapers, looking down through them. You definitely picked a good guy for it. And it's funny that you mentioned the European influence, because that kind of a style seems to work so well with these kind of science fiction stories. So I'm glad you waited for him, because 5 months. Yeah,
me too. It was a long time. I had been pitching comic book ideas for years, and so when I finally got it, I had already been waiting for so long to finally get a chance to do a comic book, and I got I think it was also, if I remember correctly, I kind of got excited and attached to the idea of him, and we were planning on him, and then it came back, oh wait, he's not available. So I think it wasn't like I looked at a list and said, this is the guy, oh, he's not available. I got pregnant with the idea of him, and then it was and then once I wanted it, I was just like, we've waited this long.
Nobody else was going to live up to it.
Yeah, let's just wait. And I'm glad I did. It was, and I think also, I mean, we both pour our heart into it. We're both perfectionists, which was in issue 1. I mean, we've never clashed, and there's never been any ego, but in issue 1, we would really have these detailed conversations about stuff, trying to get it perfect. And now we understand the world, and we understand each other so well that it's very shorthand. It's very easy. He knows exactly what I'm going for. So our collaboration has really evolved too over the process, which has been really cool. So yeah.
Which it honestly hasn't been that long in that department either. So the fact that you're able to write the script, he's able to know what you want, and you guys don't have to keep going back and forth. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
So 3's coming out, but now back to something real quick. You mentioned that you had been pitching scripts for a while.
Yeah.
And how long have you been trying to get a comic book into the industry? Because it's a lot of people want to do it, and it's not easy.
Yeah, a few years, and it was on and off. I mean, I'd put something together. We'd go out. There were sometimes pitches that wouldn't hit. There were some pitches that were a page long, and there were some pitches that were 20 pages long. And I couldn't tell you what it was about this one. So, people ask me, how did you break in? And I don't have the answer for them. I know.
Like, I really liked that one 3 pitches ago better, but they didn't.
I mean, I've tried to figure out, is one pitch or 20-page pitch, like what's the best way to do the pitch? I don't know. Eclipse, my pitch for Eclipse was very detailed, but I couldn't tell you. It might have just been the idea. It's an idea that I think grabs you, and so but yeah, I had pitched a lot of different ideas, all science fiction stuff. I mean, I've always loved science fiction, and I think it was like, I've often said, it was, I think, reading Warren Ellis about a dozen years ago that got me realizing, oh, comic books can be so much more, and that I wanted to write. I mean, I grew up reading comic books, but it didn't even occur to me when I was a teenager that there was someone writing the comic book. And then, later on, I was like, oh, wow, that there are people behind this industry doing this, and this is awesome. So, yeah.
All right, and now here you are with number 3. So number 3 comes out next week. I know you don't want to ruin it for us. Is there any? Can you give us a teaser that so we know what to expect?
I will say this: if you've been reading Eclipse and you've been tortured by cliffhangers and mysteries, there's some resolution coming for you in 3. 3, they start to get some answers, and then of course 3 is left. Our character Bax is left with a big decision on his hands. But there's definitely some of the mysteries starting to unfold. We're out of kind of some of the setup. But I don't think I can say too much more other than that. The cover of 3 reveals that our villain has been unmasked. We meet the villain in 2, and so now we're aware of him, and we're now uncovering a little bit more about him and what he's up to. So I guess that's all I can really say. But it's definitely got a lot of stuff. There's a whole lot going on in number 3.
All right, that's what it feels like from the first 2 issues. So if you put that much into that short period of time, we're looking forward to seeing what you got to bring.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you have on the horizon that you can talk about?
Yeah, no. Everything's very new. I mean, first off, I mean, the fact that Eclipse is ongoing, my first and foremost focus is on the next arc of Eclipse. I mean, I'm writing it right now. Giovanni's drawing it. We're setting that all up. That's hitting. Actually, we just figured out it is going to be March, because actually Image takes a skip month between their issue runs and their trade runs, or Top Cat does anyway. So our trade is coming out in February, and then issue 5 comes out in March. So for me, I've been primarily focused on that next chapter of Eclipse, and then I'm just getting an opportunity to start to think about some other projects and work on them. So maybe in the next few months there'll be more to talk about, but that's all very new. So yeah. All
right, that's perfect. We got plenty to look forward to for Eclipse. And so you mentioned Warren Ellis.
Yeah.
Are there any books that are out right now that you are super excited about? Any creators, artists?
In general, I mean, I got this light thing happening on my face, so I keep moving away. The sun's hitting the side of my house right now. I mean, I've got so much to read that I can't keep up. I'm reading 7 to Eternity. I'm excited for number 2 tomorrow. Reborn, yep. I have right here. I need to read Reborn from Millar. Anything Rick Remender, I read. Anything Warren Ellis, I read.
Is that Elephant Man on your shelf behind you?
Yeah, Elephant Man.
Yeah, not enough people read that one. That's a great book.
Yeah, that is a great one. I think I finished the volume 1, but there's a few more out there I need to catch up on. I think it goes like 8 or 9 deep. So, I actually met the writer Richard Starkey, I think is his name, and I met him at Comic Bug, and he talked me, and I was doing a signing, and he talked me into picking it up, and it was worth it. But yeah, I like anything sci-fi: Descender, Invisible Republic, Bitch Planet. I'm excited about that Scott Snyder, Jeff Lemire. Is it an AD that comes out in a couple of months?
Yeah, After Death. AD, that's coming out.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
What about East of West?
I like East of West, but it's got a supernatural kind of thing going on, and the art's great, the story's entertaining, it's crazy, so I've read that one. I like
this part of the whole thing.
Yeah, but I like stuff that's really like trees. I love trees because the idea of like aliens coming down and like just hovering over a city, or I like Invisible Republic. The idea of like this journalistic mystery into a political rise on a planet out in the galaxy. I mean, that stuff's very interesting to me. So I like all sorts of stuff, but East and West is very entertaining for sure.
You mentioned the conventions. Now, are you hitting all the major ones? Can people find you at these?
I'll be at like Kamikazes this weekend here in Los Angeles. It's Stan Lee's LA Comic-Con now, so whatever it's called, they changed the name, but I'll be at that. I think that's the con season's kind of winding down right now, so I'm doing that. Oh, I'm going back home. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and so I'm going to be back home in Jacksonville. They're having a convention called Hall of Heroes. I'm doing that one. But for the most part, I think I'm waiting until next year. I mean, I'm lining up
until Emerald City kicks up and you're back in the swing days.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do Emerald City, Chicago, C2E2, WonderCon. I mean, I'm planning to get around for sure next year. But that's all very kind of in the works right now. There's only a couple that I've been locking down, and the rest is like. But yeah, for sure, I will. I like the conventions. I like thousands and thousands of people squished together to geek out on comics, for sure. Yeah.
But we're all there for the same reasons. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And then I like to do signings. I try to do a lot of signings around Los Angeles or in Southern California. So
do you hit up the local comic shops?
Yeah.
Bookstores?
Yeah. Local comic shops. I'm doing here in LA when number 3 comes out. We're going to be at Meltdown. I'm going to be there with the colorist, Chris Northrup, who lives in town. So we're going to be signing number 3 there. Giovanni lives in Italy. So I cannot get him. Maybe next year I can get him to come out.
Comic-Con, if nothing else.
I know, right? I would love to get him to come out for Comic-Con. We'll have to see if we can guilt him in on Twitter.
You have to work on him. He can make it into a vacation.
I know, right? Yeah. So for sure. So yeah, I try to get around and sign as many copies as I can. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. We're looking forward to number 3, and you guys are good about getting the trades out immediately. So if people, if they're coming in late, if they see this later on, the trades from out immediately. So there's not going to be a problem with you guys finding his book, being able to read it, and you're on the West Coast, so you can track him down.
Yeah, for sure.
And hopefully we can get you up here one of these days when you're passing through. If you're heading up to Emerald City or something, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. I would love to do that for sure. Yeah. And then the other thing is we decided to do a fan art contest too, which is really cool that I always like to get the word out, because the basic gist is if you're an artist out there, we're looking for any art that captures the world of Eclipse. I mean, it is really wide open. It could be your interpretation of a cover, a character, technology, a scene. It's really just anything that has to do with Eclipse, and we're going to pick a winner, and we're going to publish them in issue 4, and they win $100 Amazon gift card and some signed copies of 1 through 4. But for me, I mean, I thought it was an awesome idea to give another. This is my first book, so I thought it'd be cool to give an artist a chance to be published, and just kind of stay with the whole championing new talent kind of thing. So if you're a new artist out there, just submit. You can go to my website, zackkaps.com. All the details are on there, and you can enter yeah, it's a good way to get something published.
That is cool, because Top Cow is very involved in bringing up new talent. In fact, I mean, other people have been doing it recently, but for years, the talent hunt goes on every year for writers and artists, which is really fantastic because people, if you're out there and you're interested, this is something that even if you don't get accepted is an amazing experience, because it gives you the chance to put a script together, draw a page, get some feedback, and really just kind of see a little bit of the inner workings. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing your contest as well. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, it's hard to get a break, but Top Cow is a place that, you know, they do keep their eye out, especially for artists. I mean, they are constantly looking for portfolios. I've been at the conventions where people come up and they show them their portfolios. They keep those. They look at those, and they'll even give you advice about what you need to do. You know, they'll say you need more sequential art, or you need to be able to improve this or improve that. So yeah, Top Cow is a great place for new talent, for sure.
All right, well, that's awesome. We'll be looking forward to more stuff coming out from you, more Eclipse. Where can they find you online if they want to look for you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Zack Kaps, Instagram, Zack Kaps, Facebook is official Zack Kaps, and the website's zackkaps.com. So
that makes things simple.
Kaps, yeah.
Yeah, we'll give you guys the links too. And when does that contest end, by the way?
It ends November 15th or 12th, I want to say, something like that. Just in time. Yeah. So
we still got some time. We'll make sure to post this over on Facebook, guys. So if you're interested, you can follow the link, get involved, and you know, see what you can. Zack, thank you very much for talking with us for a little bit.
Hey, for sure.
And hopefully, I will start seeing you at some cons.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you there. Thanks for everybody for checking out Eclipse.